Hey everybody, it's X, and welcome to my very first Ravnica Chaos Draft. This is going to be a draft where we're going with one pack of Murders at Karlov Manor to start things off. Then we're moving on to Ravnica Allegiance for pack 2 and Guilds of Ravnica for pack 3. So it should be interesting to get to play with some of the older cards again, but we do start things off pretty standard with the newest set, Murders at Karlov Manor. And this is a very easy pack 1 pick 1. If you've drafted any Murders, you know how powerful Azoni is. 6 mana for a 5/4 menace that also makes a gigantic roadblock, multiple spiders with menace and reach, as long as you have some cards in your graveyard to exile when she enters the battlefield. So incredibly powerful card and a great way to start things off. One thing to note about this draft format, since it is going to be one pack from 3 different sets, is that Golgari is specifically in Guilds of Ravnica. Guilds of Ravnica and Ravnica Allegiance, they have 5 of the 2-color pairs each. So if we want to find more green-black multicolored spells, we're going to have to wait all the way until pack 3 to do so. So this is kind of a 3-color format where you're going to be splashing in a second color quite a lot so that you can get powerful multicolored cards out of every single pack, not just pack 1 and pack 3. So do keep that in mind when you start with a gold card like Azoni. Anyways, for pick 2, we actually don't have a great follow-up here. The black and green is very empty out of this pack. There's a really mediocre Scoundrel, really mediocre Combat Trick with Analysis. It's really just Thoroughfare for very slow fixing, or Case of the Shattered Pact for very slow fixing, because when we have a rare as powerful as Azoni, we're basically guaranteed to stick to it. So I guess I could also just take Market Watch Phantom here, because since we are likely to be 3 colors no matter what, we could go white, green, black, red, green, black, blue, green, black, any 3-color pair really. So I'll just take the strongest monocolored card out of the pack, I guess, regardless of color. That was just kind of a big miss for us though. Pick 3. Now we have a Bite Down on Crime, which is decent removal out of green. Well, by green's standards. I guess because we're also playing black, though, potentially, we'll probably have better removal than Bite Down on Crime. Could take Person of Interest as the strongest monocolored card in the pack, or we could potentially have just a backup plan of giving up on Azoni and just take a Lightning Helix and have just a really solid Boros aggro start here, because there's really not much in Golgari yet again. Yeah, I mean, it's a speculative pick that, you know, may just end up in the sideboard, but I think it's like enough stronger than everything else in the pack to go ahead and take that there. Pick 4, I like Flourishing Bloomkin. I like this card quite a lot. It flips up into Ramping Up for a couple forests. If you manage to get any of the rare dual lands, you can pull those out of your deck as well. And the rare dual lands in Ravnica Allegiance and Guilds of Ravnica also have basic land types, so it can pull out those if you get them. So I think I'll go for the Bloomkin here. Really solid with the Azoni. Ramping up into that. Also, Tunnel Tipster is pretty decent with that. This is our first pack where there's actually just solid green. I think these are some of the best cards in the pack, period. Pick number 5 now, Galvanize for cheap removal is one of the best cards. Private Eye is really good in Murders at Karlov Manor, but there are no detectives in Guilds of Ravnica and Ravnica Allegiance, so it's not so great in the Mixer draft. There's 2 multicolored lands that are interesting picks to get splashing around. Neither of these are really good ones, though. The Thoroughfare requiring you to play it tapped and tap another land, and the Scene of the Crime hitting the board tapped and needing a creature to get mana out of it. Both have pretty big flaws. I'm just going to take the Galvanize. We're just going to continue taking the strongest card in the pack, and now there's a Shock pick 6. Yeah, red looks real open. So we might be going like Jund here, green, red, black. Person of Interest, pick 7. 2 2/2s for 4 mana is good, even when you're not drafting 3 packs of Murders at Karlov Manor. It's just a great rate in general. Pick 8, Red Herring if we're getting aggressive, which with the amount of red that we're managing to pick up, we probably are. Maybe we go Gruul and splash in the black. Be the easiest way to stay aggressive. Gruul, red, green, just being a super aggressive color pair. I guess even Rakdos, red, black, either of those is going to be really aggressive. And either of those is going to show up in pack number 2. Ravnica Allegiance, which is pack number 2, is the set that has red-green, Gruul, and Rakdos red-black. So we really get to pick our our core color pair starting in pack 2. And pack 3, of course, is where we'll get some more random Golgari cards to splash. This looks like a really nice start. The Lightning Helix Market Watch Phantom speculation probably not panning out, though, although we are deep into red, so if we get some insane reasons to be in Boros, we could go there instead. It's not super likely, though, because Boros is going to show up in pack 3 with Guilds of Ravnica. So it would be pretty weird to end up in Boros out of pack 2. All right, let's see what we open up in Ravnica Allegiance, pack number 2 here. We get some really nice Simic cards, which I suppose we only have the one Golgari card, the Uzoni here, so we could be heading towards blue-green off of Gyre Engineer, but more specifically Zagana. 4 mana 4/4, spend 6 mana, make her an 8/8 trample and draw a card. Or no, you draw the card when she enters the battlefield. If you control another creature with the counter on it. Okay, it's like an 8/8 trample later. There's a Savage Smash out of Gruul, which is pretty good removal if you're a more aggressive deck. You're buffing up one of your creatures and then having it fight so you can get extra damage in. You clear the path and get extra power for the turn. It's a Gruul Guildgate, which is excellent fixing. Yeah, Guildgate, Savage Smash, or Speculate towards Zagana here seem like the reasonable options. I think Uzoni is just straight up stronger than Zagana by quite a lot. So, because we're locked in on red, we can't really go red, green, blue, black unless I take a ton of fixing, which I don't think is really going to happen here, so rather go red, green, black than red, green, blue, and red, green, blue is where we'd have to go if we take the Simic card. Pack 2, pick 2. Footlight Fiend is reasonable. 1 mana 1/1 deals damage to any target when it dies, so it trades up into 2 mana 2/2s. It's also pretty dang easy to cast, because we can cast it for a red or a black, so if we randomly have our black source, then this is still castable. I think that's pretty decent. We could also just take a 4 mana 4/4 that's hard to block, or a 3 mana 2/2 that can shut off some blockers. The Riot ability, meaning you can put a +1/+1 counter on it, or give it haste. Usually you take the +1/+1 counter. Rendhorn, like a 5 mana 5/5. Bunch of decent cards here. I really like the efficiency of the Footlight Fiend, but maybe it actually just is the beefy Ceratok here. I should go ahead and take that card. Pick 3, we've got a Rakdos Guildgates to help splash in the Uzoni. Alternatively, we have an Erynx, which is a pretty beefy top-end card. 4 mana 4/4 that can buff itself up a bunch, and it has Trample. That's pretty good. I don't think we'll have enough +1/+1 counter synergies running around for Clan Crusher to be exciting. Ignis is a very aggressive card, but it's kind of spicy too. I think it's between the Erynx and the Guildgate for the most part here. We could definitely use some cheaper creatures. Some 2 and 3 mana creatures here. That's not really what we're taking, though. We'd be taking another 4-drop, so I'll take the Guildgate over another 4-drop creature. For pick number 4, it's a Locket, I guess? Steeple Creeper, 3 mana 4/2. We don't have the blue mana to give it flying, but it is still a 3 mana 4/2, which is actually pretty good with Savage Smash and the Chases on. These like combat tricky kind of removal things going on. It's not horrific. It's definitely not exactly good, but there's just not a lot in this pack for us. I guess I'll take the Steeple Creeper. Sticking to Gruul, our green-red core to this deck. Here's a Titanic Brawl, which is another instant speed fight spell. If we need more removal. I think I like the other stuff. We have a lot better than that. We could just take a massive finisher with Wrecking Beast. 7 mana 7/7 trample or 7 mana 6/6 trample haste. Uzoni's already a really massive finisher, and there's also a good menace threat with the Gore Clan Wrecker. Keep things a little cheaper on the curve. Yeah, I'll take the Wrecker. Pick 6. We've got Territorial Boar. 2 mana 2/2, but it can be a 3/3 Vigilance in any turn where we play a Steeple Creeper or a Ceratok. or an Azoni or a Topiary Panther. So we've got some cards to trigger this thing. And we need more 2-mana creatures. We have 1 right now. And this is definitely much better than the Feral Maca. Firewheeler is a pretty strong card, but double red, double black is an incredibly restrictive mana cost. These are the kind of cards designed to be like the payoffs for sticking to just 2 colors instead of splashing in a third. I wouldn't really recommend them for decks like this that are going to be splashing around 4 in a Zoni. Pick 7. Rubble Slinger is incredibly easy to cast. It's not that impressive of a body, but we'll always have the mana for that. Alternatively, 5 mana 5/5 Rendhorn, 4 mana 3/3 Menace Wrecker. These cards are all solid. They're all fine. Yeah, any 3 of these are all pretty replaceable. Go ahead and grab, I think I'll just grab another Menacing Wrecker. Menace is really nice with combat tricks like Chases on. They have to double block it, then when they do, you really blow them out with something like this. If you're lucky. I like Burning Tree Vandal as a way to dig through your deck. If you're flooding out, you discard your lands to draw non-lands, and if you're mana screwed, you discard your non-lands to try to draw lands. Alright, pick 9, super easy pick. We get a Gruul Guildgate versus an Undercity's Embrace off the splash, so we just get to take some fixing here with the Guildgate. Pick 10, we'll take a 2-mana 2/2 to up that 2-drop count. Pick 11, I think Erynx is more exciting than Ignis to me, to the point where I will take it over Ignis, even though I am looking for more 2-mana cards. I think this is just a pretty sweet, pretty beefy threat. Now we can take that Locket, although I don't think I'll be playing it. And I'm just going to rare draft an uncommon. And there we go, another 2-mana 2/2. Alright, here we are for pack number 3, and wow, am I happy to be in Golgari, because we just opened up another Golgari Bomb Rare. Find and Finality. Really flexible, really powerful card. So Finality is what you're going to cast 9 times out of 10. You're going to buff one of your own creatures to make it big enough to survive the board wipe, and then just wipe the board. So really, really nice spell there. But you also have Find. If you're just incredibly ahead on board and you have no reason to board wipe, then you can use this as a great value play, picking up 2 creatures from your grave. So really excellent card. Super happy to open that up. And that is slam dunk going right into the deck alongside our Azoni. For pack 3, pick 2, we've got a Golgari Guildgate to help the mana. Or we've got the 3-mana 3/3 Wojek Bodyguard. We need other creatures on board alongside it for it to attack or block, but if it does attack or block, it will buff up our 2-mana 2/2s with no abilities and help them out a little bit. I think it's still just worth it to take Golgari Guildgate, because that's a pretty filler 3-mana creature, and it's the only other thing we can really play around with here, so let's grab another Guildgate. Pack 3, pick 3, we've got a 4-mana 4/3. We've got a 2-mana 2/1 First Strike. And that is about it. We could splash in a Rhizome Lurcher, which is strong later in the game after you've traded a bunch of creatures off, but it's kind of inconsistent for this deck. We don't have any Self-Mill or anything where you can really pop off with it. I think I just grab a 2-mana 2/1 First Strike here with the Fresh-Faced Recruit. Pick number 4. Erratic Cyclops. Buffs up when you're casting instants and sorceries. Yeah, not really going to be a thing for our deck. We have 5 total right now. Same with Electrostatic Field and Fire Urchin. A lot of instant and sorcery buffers in this pack that aren't great in this deck. There's just a big 6-drop finishing Worm, or there's a big 5-drop Haster. Pretty filler stuff. I guess it's just whatever filler top-end card we want here, because they're definitely better than a 2-mana 2/1 with basically no abilities. I'll just grab the big old Worm. I like some worms. Alright, pack 3, pick 5. We have reasonable, I don't know, pretty mediocre early game removal. 3 mana for 2 damage, but you get to use it twice. So later in the game, you discard a land, recast this from your grave 1 time. So it can be a 2-for-1, which is nice, but Inescapable Blaze is pretty spicy. shoot anything for 6 damage, including your opponent's face. This can just randomly end games. I think I like Blaze a little better than Direct Current, but Direct Current is better than it looks. I mean, 3 mana for 2 damage at sorcery speed looks so bad, but the fact that you can do it twice is a really big buff for that card. For pick 6, we've got basically nothing. Once again, the red card cares about casting a ton of instant sorceries, not something we're going to do. Guess we could really self-mill all over with the Wand of Vertebrae, but probably not worth a whole card. You know what? It's just rare draft. Not uncommon for Vault Progress. I don't think I'm going to be playing the Fire Urchin at all. Torch Courier's cool. You get to haste it out, get a bunch of damage in early, and then whenever you play your big finisher, like your Vigor Spore Worm or whatever, you get to give that haste. But it's never been super impressive. It's neat though, and it's basically the only thing on color. So we'll take it and have that option in deck building. Pick 8. What is this? +1/+0 for each gate you control, Vigilance and Menace. Probably not worth the mana cost with only 3 or 4 gates by the end of this draft. Just take the Bodyguard or the Pax Favor combat trick. We've got multiple Menacers to force blocks and 18 creatures right now. I'm actually going to take Pax Favor here. Get another combat trick to work with the Menace cards that are kind of forcing double blocks. Ornery Goblin is better than the other 2 mana 2/1, but it's still not great. Deals damage to anything that blocks or becomes blocked by it. So it's a 2 mana 2/1 that never dies to like a 1/1. It'll just kill the 1/1s immediately, and it can also trade up into 3s. We could also take a Pax Favor here, but now I've got Pax Favor and Chases on for double trick. Now we can take that Bodyguard. Cosmotronic Wave is a finisher. You shut off blocks for the turn. Just hit for all the damage you have on board. I think I'd rather go Bodyguard, though. Pick 11, nothing. Take Weed Dragonauts for Vault Progress. Pick 12, we'll take the Sergeant. And I believe we've got a deck here. We just need to make a few cuts, and we'll be ready to go. All right, so we've got 45 cards. We've got 21 creatures, 7 non-creatures. That is quite a lot of creatures. We could definitely just cut 5 if we want to. I think pretty much all of our non-creature spells are great. Finality is incredible. Galvanize and Shock are excellent. The combat tricks work well with some of our smaller toughness creatures. The Savage Smash is solid removal. And the Blaze is a decent finisher. Yeah, I think I'm going to cut pretty much all creatures here. Drop some of the cheap, mediocre stuff like Courier and Double Maca. Is Ornery Goblin better than just a 2 mana 2/2? Yeah, it's gotta be, right? I bet it is. Red Herring definitely is. Territorial Board definitely is. Fresh-Faced Recruit definitely is. At 3 mana, Bloomkin definitely stays. Vandal definitely stays. Gearbane Orangutan. I don't think there's going to be a ton of artifacts running around. Like, there's going to be less than there were in Triple Murders, and even in Triple Murders, this card was just okay. Especially because we don't have any artifacts of our own to give it the buff if our opponent doesn't have an artifact on board. This seems just pretty bad. Bodyguard, lowering the 2 and 1 mana creature count would make us want to cut the Bodyguard, so I'll put that aside for now. We'll only put it back in if we also put in some more 1/2 mana creatures. Creeper, again, 3 mana 4/2 does not look very impressive, but these 3 spells right here, the Chases on, Pax Favor, and Savage Smash, all help it out quite a bit. 4 mana, the Gore Clan Wrecker's a decent Menacer, but the Person of Interest, the Enraged Ceratok, and the Erranks all seem a little better, so if we cut something at 4 mana, it's probably the Wrecker. Sergeant, really low toughness for that mana cost, but you do buff something else up immediately. But the fact that your 5 mana play trades into their 2 mana 2/2 is still quite bad. I guess that's what all the combat tricks are for, but then you're not getting haste value, because you can't really cast this and still hold up a combat trick, because it's 5 mana. So you just cast a 5 mana haste creature, don't attack with it, and then next turn you have your combat trick ready. I don't know, seems kind of awkward in here. Then 6 mana, Topiary Panther is going to be getting land cycled quite a bit to fix our mana and give us the evidence we need for a Zoni. So kind of doesn't count as a 6-drop, so it's really just a Vigor Spore Worm and a Zoni and an Inescapable Blaze, and I think it's okay to have that much top end here. I think that's fine. We just cut 5 of these red creatures. I think with the way the curve is looking, I'm pretty happy to just cut mostly top end. We've got like 3 really big finishers, and Finality is a huge finisher too. We've got excellent ways to end this game off, so we can just cut like the big stuff, then we can play Bodyguard with some more 1/2 mana creatures, so cut Orangutan, and probably 1 Maka, do something like this. And this is hopefully a decent enough amount of cheap creatures to go with the Bodyguard to get it mentoring, getting a lot of damage in there. Yeah, this looks super reasonable to me. Let's make sure the mana base is good. We just did cut a bunch of red cards, so the auto-suggest is probably off here. 14 red, 11 green, so relatively close to 50-50 on green-red, but definitely leaning towards red. We're at 9 red sources, 8 green sources, and then 3 black sources, but we have the Panther that can get whatever color we need, and the Bloomkin wants a lot of forests in the deck. Moderately tempted to add another forest over a mountain just to beef up Bloomkin, but it's probably not quite worth it. It's probably better to still have the 1 more red source than green source at a 14-11 split. Yeah, we'll just run the mana base as it is and call it a deck here. Alright, here's a look at the final deck list for today. We're on a Jund aggro deck, so green-red aggro, some Gruul aggro at the core, with a nice aggressive curve of creatures, starting off with some haste cards and some nice 2-mana 2/2s on turn 2. So we're bashing in for damage early with tons of combat tricks and removal spells to clear a path. We've got Savage Smash, Galvanize, and Shock to clear path, getting rid of our opponent's cheap blockers. We've got the Chases on and Pax Favor, so when our opponent does find a profitable block, we can just steamroll right over that. And then once we get to our high mana values, that's where the Black Splash comes in and gives us some incredibly powerful ways to end the game. We've got Ozoni, Center of the Web, the strongest card in the deck. A 6 mana 5/4 menace that also spits out 2 2/1s with menace and reach, as long as we can exile 4 mana value worth of cards from our grave. And then a Finality, which can be a one-sided board wipe if we manage to buff one of our creatures up to at least 5 toughness before the -4/-4 hits. So really, really sweet looking deck here. Super excited to see how it does. So without further ado, let's head into the gameplay. Alright, here we are on the play for game 1. We don't get things started till turn 4, but with a Shock in the hand to stop early aggro from our opponent, I think I'm still going to keep this one. Certainly not the most excited about it, though. This will be a while before we do anything. Alright, looks like our opponent's got a slower start as well. We did find something to play before turn 4, which is helpful. Get our Ornery Goblin down. Turn 3 from our opponent. They've got a Disguise card. That's a little annoying, because I cannot shock that. Ooh, there we go. It's a forest for the Ceratok if we want to roll with that. Interestingly, mechanically works pretty well against Disguise cards. Just can't be blocked there. Alright, trade our 2-drop into their Defenestrated Phantom. That seems decent. Do we want to go wide or do we want to go tall? Against green-white, I think I'm going to go tall. I'm going to go for 1 big threat rather than 2 smaller ones. I think they're more likely to just slam down like a 3/3 or something than play a removal spell this turn, but we'll see. Yeah, they just play a 2/2, which means Ceratok is super nice. Now, we can actually just get really aggressive and haste out the Errants, but just like getting mana efficient here. In general, they already can't block, so I don't need to shock the Unicorn right now. I could to play around combat tricks and stuff, but if I wait, we might be shocking a better creature of theirs, or responding to an aura or something that they're trying to use to buff the Unicorn. Alright, Culvert Ambusher. Well, we can't shock that. Force a block here. Okay, I can just shock in response to the Unicorn ability so I don't have to block and we'll be fine. Alright. A 4/5 is still a big problem. Still a big blocker. We can get the Errinks down, and they won't be able to block that when I have the mana up to buff it. So there is that. Yeah, let's get mana efficient here. Let's get our menace damage in. Let's drop a 4/4 trample. And let's drop a red herring and pass from there. And next turn, we're just going to send the entire board in. Unless they play something like huge that makes like 3 blockers or something like that. Okay, a 2/2 is super fine. And 2 1/1s is fine. So they did make 3 blockers, but they're all small. So we are fine with the all attack here. Red herring already has to chump attack, and we already want to send the Errinks in. So let's send in the whole party. And one of our creatures gets blocked in an unprofitable way by the ambusher, but everything else puts in some work here. Crack the herring right now. Or just buff Errinks. We're just buffing Errinks, right? And by cracking the herring right now, I mean like during their end step. Alright. The board is clear, but the Errinks is still massive. That is our hope to finish this game. Another inspiring unicorn. That is it. Good draw is good. Unironically, not a bad place to draw a land here. Ooh, I have to choose between cracking the herring for a card or just getting the unicorn off the board. I'm pretty sure we just get the unicorn off the board, and now we're just in a top deck war. They're ahead on cards, which is awkward. Alright, they're down to 5. Let's see if we can draw well enough to find the last few points of damage. We do have some instant lethal cards. Inescapable Blaze literally shoots them for... we don't have a black source yet. I think I have to play a 6/5 trample, though. Anyways, Inescapable Blaze would just shoot them in the face for 6. So I think that is the easiest path to victory. Oh no! Well, Find is still good. We can still cast that. It's one of the things that makes it really easy to splash. Yeah, we probably go to combat and then find post-combat to pick up a 6/5 trampler and something else. No, the 1-for-1 trade. Alright. Yeah, Find is still enough, even if it isn't finality here. 6/5 trample, and then a big trampler with the Errinks as well. And there's the concession. Alright. We're going to start things off 1-0 as we head into game 2. Alright, here we are for game 2 on the play. Getting things rolling with Torch Courier. Just haste right on in there. We have Finality this time because we have Topiary Panther to grab that swamp, so that could be a huge way to end this game. Try to get the one-sided board wipe. If we can get anything with 3 toughness or better, we can put 2 counters on it to make it 5 toughness and then wipe everything else off the board. Alright. Jam them down to 18. Drop our 2 mana 2/2. Keep it rolling. Blue-red from our opponent, some Izzet stuff. There's Sage's Row Savant. Scries 2 when it hits the board and then trades off for decent value. Burning Tree Vandal is the draw. I think we want to trade one of these small cards off into it and then play the Vandal once the path is clear. Alright, trade into the Torch Courier so that we can't surprise haste the gigantic threat out later. Fire Urchin, 1/3 trample. Ooh, Savage Smash is pretty savage. That's big damage here. Yeah, let's go for it. It's kind of awkward because now I kind of want to ditch Galvanize because I need this for the black source and I want to hit land for turn. And I have to discard... Oh, I don't have to. Well, maybe I should have just not discarded. But I think that discarding the Galvanize there is reasonable too. Because if we're going to need removal spells, we still have the full board wipe later. And I definitely don't think we're discarding Panther there. So yeah, Panther and Finality are just kind of off the table. Which leaves discard Galvanize or discard nothing as the options. Alright, there's land 4. Here's the Chases on to clear a path. It's a Drone Smith, so on blocks that's just a 2/3. The Thopter only comes out during their attacks. Light up the stage for a draw 2. And one of the cards is Demand Answers for some more card draw. And it's actually really good with the Drone Smith if they can keep it around, but they're gonna just die if they try to leave Drone Smith on board here. I think. Let's draw the card. Find a Vigor Spore Worm. I think we have to just ditch that to the Vandal. Can't really attack with the Maka this turn awkwardly, because they just kill it for free. Oh, Shock. Put them to literal 1 if they let this through. Okay, they don't let it through, fair enough. Okay, I have not played land for turn, have I? I don't think so, but despite that, it might still be better to just play a Boar when your opponent's at 6 rather than loading up the Finality. We know that their 2 exiled cards are not blockers, and now they do have to actually discard a card to the Demand Answers. They can't just sacrifice a Thopter because they don't have the Drone Smith anymore. Alright, Book Devourer, that is 1 blocker. So I can still put them to 2. I lose the 2/2, hit for 2, and shock for 2. Not quite enough. Let's grab the Swamp. We can Finality post-combat after we've dealt damage to a Devourer. But we don't have anything that survives Finality right now. You got any Haste in the Grave? I got Riot. And Torch Courier. Maybe that's how we lethal here? They've got 1 card left in their hand? If they hit us with Book Devourer, they have no blockers up and they draw 1 card, so I don't think they can do that. Let me think here on Find. It'd be 2 mana to do that, 1 to play Courier, 1, 2, 3 to play Burning Tree Vandal. Well, let's go for it. I mean, it will be lethal, in theory. Find 2 haste threats. Let's see what that last card in their hand is. Alright, it is not removal, and that is going to end the game for us. We are now 2-0 heading into game 3. Alright, here we are for game 3 on the draw. Multiple 2-mana threats. We got 3-mana removal with Savage Smash. We have the black source off the Topiary Panther. It's like a pretty sweet start. Playing against Selesnya. Nothing turn 2 from them. Let's drop the Fresh Face Recruit. The Recruit and the Goblin are very, very similar here. But I think the Recruit attacks in better against slightly more cards. It attacks into 2/2s that the Goblin doesn't. And there we go. Attacks into 3/2s as well. Gets us some early damage here. Maybe should have just hasted out the Vandal. But I'm going to go for the +1/+1 counter here again. Keep our threats as large as possible. Plus, this is the only way for me to play a 2 toughness or better creature this early in the game to get our Savage Smash to actually matter. Because Savage Smash is kind of hard to use profitably when all of your creatures are only 1 toughness. So now that I have a 2 toughness creature, I can smash away something with 3 power and still be fine. But if I had hasted out the Vandal, then our Savage Smash would still be useless right now, because their only creature would fully trade into anything we tried to fight with. Alright, Selesnya Locket here. We can smash in for just pure damage right now, or we could just grab a Swamp and Ornery Goblin it up. Which I am kind of a fan of. Swamp Ornery Goblin, so we discard Bodyguard and trade off Vandal. Which does make the smash useless again, but I think setting up a Finality against green-white is pretty good because they've got a lot of token production, potentially. One of the best color pairs for cluttering up the board here. Ooh, Territorial Boar. There we go. Now we're going to have a 2 toughness creature on board with our smash again. Alright, and we'll just see whatever they want to do here on their turn. Just land cycle right now for F6 value. Just auto pass value so Arena doesn't ask me if I want to do anything. Alright, they play their own Topiary Panther. So we're going to need a much bigger creature. So let's work on Flourishing Bloomkin as that option. Wow, I tapped out like a complete doofus there. I could have played Goblin as well, but we are ramping up to Finality, so we probably don't want to anyway. Secretly the right play. I mean, I guess it depends what they play next, right? Because we're just going to flip up the Bloomkin to have a 5/5 to trade into their 6/5. So if they don't play any more creatures, then we might just slam in with a bunch of 2/2s and stuff. But if they do play more creatures, we are probably going to have the Finality post-combat at some point. Alright, yeah, gotta take our 6 damage here. Okay, now I can Bloomkin for a 5/5 on my board. Costs 5 mana to use, which means I won't be able to Savage Smash in the same turn anyway. We're hoping for some reason one of these is untapped so we can like attack into them and then Finality. The fact that they're both 5 toughness is really awkward for us. Because it'd be so much better if we could attack into them and then Finality post-combat, but if they just attack in with both, like, we can't Finality either because they're not going to have blockers up in the first place. Yeah, this is tremendously awkward because also the Bloomkin lines up to being 1 toughness too small to survive blocking Rendhorn, which would be incredible for us. If I just wait a turn, I can Savage Smash one of these things. A lot of damage to wait a turn. I think it's worth it. These two creatures are already just gone to finality at some point. So I think we're going to chump with them 2 turns in a row. I guess if they don't removal spell our Bloomkin, we don't have to chump 2 turns in a row. We just Savage Smash the Topiary Panther. And then we have a 6/6 blocker for the Rendhorn, and we're good. Okay, that's the last card in their hand, and it is not removal. They do have a draw 2 on board, but they'll be like tapped out after that. So Galvanize. That could stack up into killing something. I don't have enough red sources to do all the stuff I want right now, but so be it. Okay, if I find... I don't think that's really going to be worth it. So now I could Galvanize Finality and have a 10/10 Bloomkin. Not a 10/10, an 8/8 Bloomkin left. I was still looking at its +2/+2 from Savage Smash there. That is not a permanent +2/+2. The Finality +2/+2 is permanent. So it would be an 8/8 Bloomkin for the rest of the game. Angelic Exaltation. When a creature attacks alone, buff it a bunch? Well, that's an issue. +2/+2, right? Right now. Yeah, so now Rendhorn is big enough to attack into Bloomkin. Well, shoot. That was a decent draw. Think we are just rolling into Galvanized Finality here. What are the odds they chump block this Bloomkin? They shouldn't chump block the Bloomkin, but if they do, it is horrendous for me. Well, is it? It would be 8 toughness, -3, 5 toughness. No, it would still survive Finality. It would still survive Finality even if they chump block it here. So yeah, we do go for damage before casting Finality, because it'll be more damage this way. 6 damage instead of just 4. I guess if they chump block, it's less damage, but I don't think they're super likely to. Yeah. All right, now we Galvanize the Rendhorn, then Finality. And they are playing off the top, but they do have a locket to draw 2. Wrecking Beast? Oh my god, 6/6 Trample Haste is the top deck, which is 7. Come on, Arena. Not like this. And then it's just going to be top deck removal. Oh, I swear. Well, we can't attack, or we are dead on board because of Trample. There's the Selesnya Locket getting popped. Yeah, literally. 7/7 Trample Haste top deck into removal spell top deck. Well, what can you do? It's just a rough draws. I mean, our draws weren't terrible, just our opponents were very good. 2-1 it is, heading into game 4. Here we are for game number 4. This is like all our black sources. There's no green here. We've got Recruit into the Chases on. I've got like 9 green sources in the deck. We are on the draw. Okay, we'll keep here. Ooh, there's a Shock as well. Kind of got to get the tap land out of the way first, though. Alright, they didn't cast anything shockable yet anyway. playing against Azorius with a Magnifying Glass turn 3 for some mana ramp. We have found our green source, but it is a tapped green source, so no Steeple Creeper this turn. Which Steeple Creeper is looking pretty good in this hand because we have the chases on to go with it. Also the shock to try to clear a path for it beforehand. Sphinx's Insight, draw 2, gain 2 since they cast it during their turn. Yeah, opponent is definitely going to have the card advantage for a long game. Oh yeah, it's full Esper control, blue, white, black. Could be bad for us. We'll see. Could Panther into a land. If I want to do that, we do that later though. Do I sack Courier just to haste Creeper? Sack Courier to deal 4. Yeah, I basically spent 1 mana to deal 4 to my opponent's face. It's kind of awkward, but probably worth it here. It's kind of awkward because they're blue, white, black, which means they're likely to just kill Steeple Creeper this turn. And then I'll only have 1 creature left instead of 2, but a 1/1 creature is not that impactful anyway. Delny. Alright, well that's very shockable. Dramatic accusations. They do just straight up kill the creeper. Sadness. Do I shock Delny? I only have a 2/1 first strike on the board anyway. I probably do, so they don't get a million triggers on any other creatures they might play. And to be mana efficient here. Okay. So Vigor Spore Worm only needs a single green. But I have double red, I have triple black. Yeah, we're still grabbing another green source. Off of the Panther. Because we do need lands, period, to get to the Vigor Spore Worm. Sphinx of New Prov. Spells your opponent's cast that target it cost 2 more, right? Yeah, so it's 4 mana to galvanize that. But I can still do it. I would rather chases on it than galvanize, because then I get to draw a card this turn. So I will go for that. And then if they don't block, we just galvanize it. This is weak to instant speed removal. But very good if they don't have it. Okay. And if they don't block, it's still fine too. It'd be the same end result as if we had galvanized main phase 1. Dissolving Lammasu, big old 4/3 flyer. It's really blue-eye flyers over there. 4/3 is too small. You block a 4-power first striker. Well, no. Disdainful Stroke. All right. Well, I literally couldn't play around that then because they could not have blown this on a smaller spell. They could only counter Vigor Spore Worm anyway. And they've got like infinite mana right now, so. Ew, Curious Inquiry. Now they get to draw a card every turn off of hitting us with Lammasu. Looks bad. Start drawing a card every turn off of the Magnifying Glass too. Well, if they somehow draw really, really, really badly, we can hit them for 7 damage next turn off of Recruit, Boar, and the Chase is on. But if they draw a creature or removal spell or life gain or anything like that, it's not lethal anymore. That's a Vigilant Flyer, which is super bad. Bad enough to probably have to Chases on to kill that instead of putting them to like 2 life. Down to 10. Dead in 2 more hits. Not what we are looking for. Well, got an instant up still. It's miserable. Probably like a bounce spell here they can completely counter the Chases on either way I cast it. Or maybe not. Yikes. Alright, they're down to 5. Pass from here. Still got that Inescapable Blaze for immediate lethal. We've got a Zoni that would win us the game with a bunch of menace cards. I think Inescapable Blaze is our best out, though, because of the uncounterability. Obviously, Finality would be nuts here as well, but that wouldn't straight up win us the game. It would just clear the entire board and we'd be in a top deck war. Which is kind of where we're at already, but we're in a top deck war where we're going to die next turn right now, so it is better than our current position. So really, Inescapable Blaze or Azoni is what we're crossing our fingers for. Yeah, they're tapped out, so Azoni would do it. And it's just another land in a row. All right. Couple games with some real rough draws versus theirs in the last turns means a couple losses in a row, and we are now 2-2 heading into game 5. Here we are now on the play for game number 5. Snap keep. We've got a turn 2 Ornery Goblin, nothing till turn 4, but then some nice beef for a wide board state with Person of Interest. Alright, turn 3 we get to play a tapped land, and that's our green source out of the way for the Azoni. Maybe we'll get to cast our pack 1 pick 1 time today. Be sweet. Alright, super aggro blue-white stuff from our opponent. Luckily, the Ornery Goblin is incredible in this matchup. Ooh, hitting a 3-drop is a little awkward. Because I do want to play it. It's probably better to just guarantee I'm playing a 4-drop next turn. Because if they can't removal spell Ornery Goblin, they just really can't do anything. Just shoots all these 1 toughness cards. They try to do anything. Alright. So now we're at 4 out of 5 mana. Wide board state from my opponent. But most of it can't block the Ceratok, so that's kind of nice. And I do want to get some mana value in my grave before I cast a Zoni, so I might have to play Burning Tree Vandal next turn so I can discard something. Alright, Granite Witness tap Ceratok. Doesn't really matter what they tap, they just attack with Witness and that's it. Okay. Send in the Ceratok. They're down to 16. And let's set up the Burning Tree Vandal. And next turn we can discard Person of Interest to have 4 mana value for a Zoni. if we don't draw on anything else to discard. There's Inside Source. This is just a good Murders at Karlov Manor deck. Granite Witness into Inside Source there. Okay, that is not the land we're looking for. Kind of do like savagely smashing a Granite Witness. But if we can hit the land for a Zoni, we're going to want to cast a Zoni over anything else. So I'm going to do this, I think. Okay, and we did hit the land for a Zoni, so I feel like this is probably better. Boom. I guess I could have went for like Torch Courier Zoni combo next turn to both play and trigger a Zoni in the same turn. Okay, so now they're in a position where they have to block a Zoni with a million things to kill her. And I can just make spiders again off the attack. Let's clear out the Witness, and then nothing can block Ceratok. I think we just attack with everybody, honestly, at this point. We're going to have 2 more blockers up. This all has Menace. They probably want to kill a Zoni. This gets in for 6 no matter what, so they're at 6 life maximum. Yeah, and our opponent does go ahead and scoop them up there, and we are now 3-2, at least an average 50-50 run to start things off, but see how much farther we can take it as we head into game number 6. All right, here we are on the play for game 6. Get to hold up a Shock and a Galvanize in the early game here, but we've got Maka into Ceratok. Nice little Rune Claw Bears, 2 mana, 2/2. Wall of Myth. I mean, I can Galvanize it because it's annoying, but I'm gonna keep playing creatures for now. It doesn't block Ceratok at all. Crime Stopper Sprite. Doesn't change things much. We can just shock that very easily, very soon. I should have attacked with both here, because they don't want to trade Sprite into a 2/1 or a 2/2 on the ground, so we could have gotten 2 damage in there. Wall of Mist only stops one of the 2 attackers. Just click too fast. Oh, hey Vannifar. We probably die to that, because I can't kill Vannifar if Vannifar doesn't block anywhere here. So, yeah, I mean, unless they block, Vannifar's just going to win, just cloaking a land from their hand every turn. Endless supply of 2/2s. Yep, that is no blocks from Vannifar. As you expect. Any person of interest here? I think we do. Maybe we can stay aggressive enough to chip in for enough damage to get them down to like 6 or something, in case we can top deck into Inescapable Blaze. Maybe something like that can get us there. Could top deck Savage Smash and just smash the Vannifar. It's also a possibility. Whoa, no cloak this turn? Okay. That was not remotely a possibility in my head, but I guess it is. Alright, the 4/3 Piston Fist Cyclops is pretty annoying. I guess I could Galvanize that if they're just not going to use Vannifar anyway. But I don't think I can afford to do that. It is kind of my only line, though, right? Because if I don't galvanize the Cyclops, it's just going to trade into the Ceratok, and it's going to hold everybody else off, too. I guess the only thing that can attack, even if I do galvanize the Cyclops, is the Ceratok. But that's the only way we're getting anything done here. Phew. Instant speed fight spell in response to the Galvanize, and we are back to get demolished by Vannifar. Because any flood they hit still provides them with 2/2s. That then turn into 3/3s and 4/4s when they draw actual spells. Plus Surveillance Monitor, now they can just buff the Thopter every turn with Vannifar for +1/+1 counters. Seems like it's probably the end of the run for us. Cannot break through the Vannifar without the hard removal for her. Which we have. We have an Inescapable Blaze and a Savage Smash. That would have been big enough. I guess if we drew the Savage Smash too early, though, they would have had the fight spell up in response. Just got us with that. Finality does still win the game. It doesn't win the game. It turns it into a top deck war. None of our creatures are big enough to survive Finality. Still be big, though. Would wipe their whole board. And our whole board. It's still just a trade. Alright. Show off the Crawl Harpooner for fun. Okay. Sky's card gets Essence captured. Put a +1/+1 counter on the Wall of Mist. For reasons, I guess. Well, we've got one more turn to find something, and at this point, I think it can only be Finality to keep us around. The out would have to be Finality into top decking all spells while our opponent hits all lands, basically. I mean, we are just dead if they attack with Vannifar, yeah. I was gonna say maybe they're too scared too. Alright, well, not a lot we could really do in any of our losses today. Vannifar is just the kind of card you have to have your removal at the ready for immediately, and we did not have the removal. We had the burn spells to try to stack up if Vannifar ever got into combat, but our opponent was just going to play defensively and not put Vannifar in harm's way, as we saw. That is how things went. So we couldn't kill the Vannifar, we just couldn't find our Blaze or our Smash. And then our other two losses, we just lost some top deck wars pretty hard. Flooded out for the second loss, and for the first one, we got into a position where we were slightly favored. Our opponent had to play off the top, and they were just like, Trample, haste, or removal spell. GG. So it is what it is. I think this deck is decent. It's not incredible or anything. Somewhere between like a 3-3 and a 5-3 is where I would imagine this gets on average. So this is at the lower end of how I think this deck could do, but not horrific. I don't think this deck is incredible. The Azoni and the Finality go pretty far away, and the general aggressive curve is decent with the combat tricks, but there are certainly a lot of filler creatures in that aggressive curve, like Feral Maka with no abilities, and Territorial Boar, and Recruit with very little abilities, Torch Courier that's very low impact later. There's a lot of filler in the deck to keep it together that isn't particularly powerful. That leaves it just being a pretty average deck for a pretty average run. But still, very cool to see this format, excited to play some more of it, and that is going to do it for today's draft. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and you're interested in seeing more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below, where I'm live every Wednesday. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.